My name is Julie Ann Link, and welcome to the Music Link. This week on the Let's Link project, I'd like to welcome Dr. Shuo Shelly Li. Thank you so much for being here, Shelly.
Thank you so much, Julie, for having me.
Shelly and I met about a decade ago in Oberlin, Ohio, with the Meg Quigley Vivaldi competition and symposium, where Shelly won second prize. So, Shelly, just diving in, could you please share with us an overview of who you are and what you do as a professional musician?
Yes, absolutely. Hi, my name is Shuo Li. I also goes by Shelly, and I'm a bassoonist. And currently, I'm playing with the Hawaii Symphony this summer for 3 months in their summer season as the assistant/second bassoonist. But I have been teaching as an adjunct assistant professor in University of Missouri in the past year.
Shelly, could you tell us a bit more about where you grew up and how you got introduced to music and the bassoon?
Yeah, of course. I was born in Shijiazhuang, Hebei province, which is in the north part of China. And I grown up there, and that's where I started get to know music, to learn music from since kindergarten actually, because they have music classes and they say to play around, and they have keyboard. And then I was really drawn into the keyboard, and even I remember that, and my parents told me that I actually asked them like, could I, have a keyboard, or like, so they decided to, they have been super supportive since, and they got a piano for me. So I started learning piano along with like ear training and theory, like, it's already very basic music theory since when I was like five years old. And also family friends, their daughter plays violin. So I mean, she is like many years older than me. So I have been really influenced by her and inspired by her as well. So yeah, so that's how I started my early music training. And then when I auditioned for the middle school of Shanghai Conservatory later, and they really needed a bassoon player. So I changed my major to bassoon and just like get to know it. And I was introduced to my teacher, Mr. Zhao Liu, and he is currently the bassoon professor at the Shanghai Conservatory and also the chief of the department. And he was the principal of Shanghai Symphony then. So he, even from day one, before I even got a bassoon from school, he just introduced me to bassoon by playing excerpts and explain what bassoon is, and also like which part it is, just like show me from all dimensions he could think of. And so I got to know the bassoon not from like approaching from like fingerings first, but also just like but instead like the sound and the beauty of the bassoon. So I really appreciate that. So, and that's when I decided I really like this instrument and I'm committed to it. So, yes, I've been playing since. But I didn't give up on piano at all, and I love playing collaborative. Like playing with my friends as a collaborative pianist. Yeah, through the years.
Could you share with us where you went to school?
Yes, I went to Oberlin Conservatory for my undergrad and Rice University for my grad school, and then I got my doctoral degree from University of Kansas.
Could you tell us about your music teachers and how they influenced you?
Yes, my primary bassoon teachers for Mr. Shuo Li, I studied through middle school and high school. And Mr. Sakakini, who I studied at Oberlin, Mr. Kamens, I studied at Rice, and then Dr. Sternberg, I studied at University of Kansas. And they all, I just feel like I'm so lucky to have all four of them as my primary teachers. And they all have such unique things I learned from them, but also the common thing I found from all of them is how dedicated they are to what they do, and that's very inspiring for me to just watch them work and to see how they approach to the work. Yeah, but other teachers, not only other bassoon teachers, but also other teachers who play other instruments, were also a huge influence to me as well, like through different schools. And they were super generous and kind to us as well. And I would play for them, and they would share the comments and without holding anything back. So yeah, so I constantly feel so grateful for being able to have this kind of environment through my entire education.
Yeah, I love hearing that, Shelly, and just highlighting, to students to go and seek those other teachers
Yes.
and play Bach for your flute, professor,
Yes.
or for a string faculty, yeah.
Right, it's because they can hear things different than what you might hear. Yeah.
Wow. So through that journey, Shelly, did you ever consider about changing careers outside of music?
I don't think I ever did. I think I'm dedicated to this path, and I really enjoy what I do, and I feel like playing just makes me happy. And I realize it even more, and even more grateful in the past year under the pandemic situation. And so at least at this point, like that's not what I'm considering. But I know different people is very different, and I know some amazing players who ended up changing their, switching their careers, or just like, another way to put it is like they explore to other like career paths, and they're doing great, and they're really happy about what they do. So I feel like that's the most important thing, is to be true to yourself and to truly know what makes you happy. It doesn't matter what you do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Shelly, are there any tips or advice that you could share around what you learned about the music industry since graduating?
Yes. I feel like first of all, the music world is really small. Like everybody is connected to each other, and which is which is a good thing to have. You feel like you're a big family, and you have so much support from everyone. And yeah, and so far at this point, like everywhere I have worked, like everybody is so nice and so supportive and understanding. So I feel like we all know what this is about and what this is like. So yeah.
Could you share with us about your teaching career?
Well, I have to say I'm fairly new to this career path, because even though I was a TA, through the 3.5 years during pursuing my doctoral degree, but I just started teaching like a year ago. So it's like really new to me, but I have learned so much, like even just like from my students, like when I interact with my students, like lots of things I talk to them about, I also reflected on my own practice sessions, because sometimes like in the time when I try to help them to solve something, sometimes it just like clicked like for myself too, like maybe it just like lead me to solve something I have been struggling as well, even though it might sound different, but yeah, just like I just found that's kind of magical in a way. And also just observing how my colleagues approach teaching, and it's really, really valuable experience.
Shelly, could you share with us more about your teaching philosophy and your approach to teaching music and the bassoon?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I always meet the students where they are, because they might not be the music major students. They might have different career focus. So it's really important to meet with students for their needs. But also at the same time, I make sure the learning environment is a safe place. Also, I make sure they are fully aware of that. So they started to have this non-judgmental way of learning. So only focus on what it is. Like, for example, like if you have a issue in playing, then this is only focus on the issue. It doesn't relate anything to you as a person. And I feel like that's really critical on learning in a healthy way.
Could you share with us about your orchestra career?
Yes, of course. I have played with many orchestras as a guest bassoonist, and I still remember my very first professional experience was with the Alabama Symphony. And as like we all know, like our very first of anything would just like live in the mind. So I really appreciate how positive that experience was, and how supportive everybody was. Like not only the principal bassoonist Tariq Masri was like, but also other colleagues I had in that symphony. So that's also a major reason that I love playing in orchestra, because I just love the environment.
Do you have a favorite concert experience that you've played in or attended that you could share with us?
Oh yes, I think this is going to be a really personal one. I remember the very last concert I played with Rice Symphony Orchestra. Dearly. We performed Shostakovich Symphony Number 10, and I don't know why, but Shostakovich Symphony really speaks to me. So, and also in addition to that, that's like the very last concert of my graduate school, and playing with my dear friends, and everybody will just departs from there, and you would not know when next time you will be playing with each other. So that's like, yeah, a very memorable experience. Yeah.
Could you tell us about a memorable audition experience?
Yeah, this would go also back to the very first professional orchestra audition I have ever taken. It was for the second bassoon audition for the Cleveland Orchestra. I think it was back in 2012. Yeah, that was like a big one. I mean, it's a big one to begin with, and as a first audition, I feel like it's not like a completely clueless, but since you don't have any memory from the like before, you can a reference to. So that's kind of actually scary, but also exciting in a way. I remember I was not nervous at all. I was just simply so excited to be able to play some melodies on the stage of Severance Hall, which I love so much. Yeah, and I remember I saw you in the waiting room. I remember they had to separate the women's room and the men's, like the two sections, because it's like also a changing room as well, right? So I remember I ran into you random.
Shelly, I remember the lockers. Do you remember
Yeah,
lockers or
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
benches for some reason? That stands out to me. It's been a long time. Yeah.
Mm. And I remember it's a really sunny day as
And it was
well.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it's like it, I feel like the result how I did in the audition didn't matter anymore at that point. I was just simply so excited for
Yeah.
that experience and to be in that place. Yeah.
Do you have any tips or advice on how to cope with music performance anxiety if that's something that you've experienced?
Yes, yeah. I have been working on, you know, dealing with performance anxiety myself too, and I would look into different blog posts or listen to podcasts or consulting with my teachers and discussing with my friends, along like through all these years. Like one of the most important thing to feel less anxious about performing is the preparation. Now you have to practice performing even
Mhm.
during the practice session. So when you get on stage, it's just normal, just another day. And the other thing I found that works for me really well is to focus on the music itself, because I used to sometimes just automatically drawn into technique, accuracy, just like no wrong notes or just like the cleanness. But the more I think about that, the more mistakes I will make and the more nervous I would feel, and the less musical my playing will sound like. And so recently I found, like, if I start feeling anxious or nervous during the performance, regardless if it's a solo recital or an orchestra performance, they draw my attention to, how I want this phrase to go, what the directions of this note, how this note would end, or like or even the most simply thing to draw into is the dynamics. Just pay attention to dynamic, how they develop and translate into the other, like what's the logic behind it. Even though you do practice it during your practice and you have to have a clear plan of what you want to do, but just simply draw attention to those, I feel like I would just immediately relax and just enjoy much more. Just shift the mind, because the brain only can focus on one thing one time. So why not focus on the music, the musical side, which is what everything's about. So
Shelly, are there any musical related injuries that you could share with us about?
yes, actually, I think it
Mhm.
was just a couple of years ago. I remember there's one day I get up and then I just try to practice. Not only I feel like slight, like not like numb, but it's like tingling, like these two fingers. But also like I can't hold the bassoon for more than 15 minutes. It just started like shaking badly on my left arm, and I just got really worried. I think it's either from like over practicing, or just like not being careful, or from like excessive king processing or something.
Mm.
It just like, yeah, just like my muscle just like they give up. They just can't
Mhm.
anymore. So I had to going to like physical therapy, and I had to literally take that summer completely off, basically. And then, but it's slowly like I got back in shape again in August, just seriously little by little, just like I would practice for 3 minutes on first day, and then just that's it. And then next day just add to 5 minutes, and just add it little by little. And then later I would set an alarm to like I only practice 30 minutes and then rest for like 10 and then practice for another 30. But I think that helped. So I realized like I can't just keep going without taking breaks. Like breaks are healthy. And if I want to, play longer, I just need to be really wise on taking breaks at the same time. Just like when people go to the gym, nobody just like work out straight nonstop for an hour. Just always like the group of different sessions, and between each group you pause for a minute or two, let the muscle recover. So yeah, so even with cane processing, now I only do really small portion, but I would try to do it daily, but with just really small portions. So it's not about like how much you do at one sitting. It's like how like you have to be doing it like consistently and constantly.
What are important skills learned in music that apply to everyday life?
I feel like the most important thing for me that I learned was to be non-judgmental. It's not like I was judgmental, but I feel like sometimes I could be harsh to myself, like it's so easy to go from like, for example, remaking. I actually like remaking, but still it's frustrating sometimes. And when you get to the bad reward, like if you make a mistake on scraping, this we just make from a potential one that just went through to the trash can, then you feel like how could I do that? Then you just like without just unconsciously just attack yourself, but that won't solve any problems. So I learned to not be judgmental and just focusing on what it is. I made a mistake and what the mistake was. So next time I won't do the same mistake again. So that's a helpful way. That's really helpful information to me. But if I attack myself and only focusing on how come it went wrong, then I will not get any information that helped me. And it's not just like about remaking or playing, just like anything in life. Like I found it's like if something went wrong or like didn't go as I intended to, I just like won't, just or like stop myself from just attacking myself. Yeah.
Shelly, is there any advice that you could share for musicians just starting out their music careers?
Oh yeah, of course. Make sure to listen to tons of music recording, especially like these days it's like so easy to access with so many different recordings or like versions of recordings. So listen to not only the instrument you play, but also other instruments, other genres, and different music from different eras. And you don't know, like something would just like maybe you would fall in love with Baroque, or maybe you fall in love with contemporary, or you just like normal. You just never know, but you have to put yourself there to explore and just listen to tons of them. It's like learning language, and like it's much easier to learn a language when you're in that environment. Yeah, and so you have to throw yourself into the big pool. Yeah, and also another thing is don't be afraid to ask questions. And there's no small questions. There's no stupid questions. Any question is valid. It could lead to a path that solves a big problem. So.
Wonderful, Shelly. Well, thank you so much for your time and for doing this interview. And it's just so special to get a glimpse into your life and career as a professional musician. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Julie. Yeah, I'm glad to have this chance to share some of my thoughts with you and everyone who watches.
For everyone tuning in, keep an eye out for 2 events held every week on the Music link. Every Thursday Central Daylight Time, a new YouTube video launches, and every Sunday Central Daylight Time is a live Zoom group discussion session with great new guests every week that you can register for on the website. Check out Shelly's hosting session coming up this Sunday, where she's sharing an open panel discussion, and feel free to come with any questions. Find out more about Shelly and her travels and work on her Instagram at Shell's Bassoon, which is SHELLZBSN. Please like, comment, and share any questions or feedback in the section below, and we'd be happy to incorporate these in the live discussion. Subscribe to this channel and turn on the bell for notifications, which really helps keep the Music link moving forward, and you'll get notified when a new video is uploaded. Check out the Instagram and Facebook pages too for more information. The Music link is a New Zealand-based resource for people around the world to share, learn, and connect through music. Thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video.